folds into the tragic shooting of two National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. MS Now journalist Ken Delaney is facing backlash for his on-air reaction to the violent attack. Watch.
But of course, you know, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so there's, you don't know, people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. And Joe, I understand that in the moments immediately following a shooting like this, which is breaking news, all the networks are on it, you're trying to fill airtime. Everything is not perfectly scripted. Everything is not perfectly thought through. But why the heck would he even think of saying something like that? Why would that even be in his brain to come out of his mouth?
I think it's muscle memory and reflex, Todd. I think anytime it could be connected back to Donald Trump, the folks over at MSN, what were they? MS Now?
MS Now.
Yeah, wow. The marketing people came up with that. Geniuses. They go to this area, right, where...
All right, so before we get into that, let's pivot for a second, because I want to keep y'all up to date and let y'all know exactly what happened with this whole National Guard thing.
Guard shot in what is being described as a targeted attempt on their lives. They are now in critical condition. The assailant, in this case, the gunman, has been apprehended and is now being treated at a local hospital, not said to be talking to local law enforcement. The mayor saying that they will be handling the investigation, the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI saying they will be taking the lead on the investigation. I want to go now to our investigative correspondent, Patrick Terpstra, who is on the scene right now where the shootings took place. Patrick, your thoughts after we have now heard from all parties in this particular situation as to where this incident goes from here.
Well, Del, really, this is what a lot of people were worried about might happen, that there might be a targeting of these National Guard men and women who have been patrolling major cities and here in Washington, D.C. since the summertime. They travel in groups, 4 or 5 people. They are armed and they don't wear masks, and they're very, very visible. This happening at 2:15 in the afternoon here in downtown Washington in an area known as Farragut Square, which is a block and a half away from the White House. Authorities holding a news conference earlier said that it is a lone gunman who essentially ambushed these guard members and came around a corner and immediately opened fire. Those guards members, we're told, were armed at the time, but it was not anything that they could do to stop themselves at that point from getting shot. There were other National Guardsmen on the scene that tended to them. Also, the suspect, that lone gunman, also shot in an exchange of gunfire, but we don't know who shot that suspect at this time, and we don't know what the motive was. Law enforcement descended upon this very busy area quickly, talking about Secret Service as well as federal law enforcement officers and the Metropolitan Washington Police. And Del, one of the first things they did is they took a look at surveillance video from the area to see if they could find any other suspects, but they believe just one person opened fire, that person being treated. They're trying to get information about motive, but at this point that remains in question as the president saying that he is going to actually add 500 more National Guards men and women to patrol the streets of Washington after this shooting occurred here today, Del.
So essentially what happened is, the National Guard is keeping the streets of DC safe. And 2 blocks away from the White House, a block and a half, 2 blocks away from the White House, 2 National Guards members were attacked. They were in critical condition. Their condition isn't updated yet as far as the national news is concerned. What up, Late Nights with Desmond? I appreciate you, bro. And, the suspect was shot also. He was listed in critical condition. And now they are saying that he pulled through. Now, I would also think that, or I would like to think that they want him alive, because not only do they want to make sure that there are no additional threats that is tied to him, but they also want to know the motive, and they want to use him as an example, and they want to punish him. And it is very unfortunate, because these are the people that serve us. They are our public safety officers. They are the people that are on the front lines. When anything happens, they pop off for us. And to see them be harmed right around the holidays, that's unfortunate. Now, let me go over back to this other guy that's under fire. From, I guess, he said some crazy stuff or some incendiary things about these National Guards.
They support open borders. They support the military defying orders that are legally handed down. They prop up dangerous people who are here illegally, all because they think that that is what their audience wants to hear. The bottom line is that 2 National Guardsmen were shot. That was at Farragut Station, which is right near the White House. I've worked there. I've been in that station 100 times. And the fact that that is the reflex, just like we saw with Charlie Kirk after he was shot, before we even knew if Charlie had passed or not, we saw Matthew Dowd over on ABC saying basically he deserved it because of his rhetoric. It's a whole bowl of wrong, Todd.
Emily made a really good point in the last hour when she said it's in those moments of stress, in a breaking news situation, when the filter is not there, that you really do get a sense as to what someone's unvarnished thoughts are. They're exposing who they are, and that's what happened here.
And the thing is, Todd, and it's a great point by Emily, Ken Delanian is a legal analyst for MSNBC. He's not like some partisan opinion guy you bring on. He's there to give you the facts and what is happening. And instead, this is where they go. I swear, Donald Trump could come up with a cure for cancer, and MS Now and CNN would do a story on how the owners of funeral parlors are suffering because business is down.
The White House did not take this lightly. They came out with a very strong statement. They said the following, if we could go there now, here we go. Ken Delanian, 2 heroes were just shot protecting our nation's capital. And this is your takeaway? Democrats have relentlessly demonized these patriots, calling them illegal and even suggesting they might start shooting Americans. Get help. You are beyond sick.
We come from a place in America, or at least I remember a place in America. What up to Elevate to the Unknown? I'm definitely going to read that super chat shortly. We come from a place in America, and I can remember in America where no matter what you criticize, no matter what you had a disagreement about, if you didn't care for Republicans or if you were a Democrat, you didn't care for Republicans, or Republicans didn't care for Democrats, we all still understood that we don't disrespect our military. We don't disrespect the military. We don't disrespect the National Guard. We don't disrespect our Navy. We don't disrespect our Air Force. And even, there was once upon a time where we actually celebrated and heralded police officers. Like that was a coveted position, until rap music and NWA came by, and then they demonized police officers and Ice-T. Ice-T and NWA, in my opinion, their legacy is mostly going to be pushing a F the police agenda, which demonized our public safety officers and even people that was from the hood, or even people that were from certain neighborhoods, and they wanted to help and contribute and be a part of change inside of the environment. If you became a police officer, you were labeled a sellout, you were labeled a coon, you were labeled against whatever is happening. And so, we now embody, and they planted these seeds that now went out, and it started to create this narrative that public safety officers were the enemy. Then you start seeing all of this nonsense where people were saying, oh yeah, they are part of the KKK and all of this. And I'm just amazed. I'm like, wait a minute. These are the first people that you call when you have a problem inside of your community. First people that you call when you have a problem inside of your community. And now people feel like it's okay to attack them. It's okay to attack them. I'm even seeing reports, you can see it, it's saying that they really wanted a death by suicide. He wanted to do a death by suicide, a suicide mission on this whole situation.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price.
You know, somebody said, for example, I want to get your opinion on the police. Matter of fact, let me be careful, all right? Because I want to get a certain group of people. If you have a disagreement with me, I told y'all I was going to start integrating y'all into the show. If you don't like the police, if you think that the police are actually the enemy, because I hear somebody say it's because of how the police treated us. It's because of how the police treated us. If you actually disagree with me, I will, you a goddamn lie, then explain the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity because, see, I'm not one of those content creators that's going to censor you. Tell me why in 2 minutes. You don't have to be on camera. I want to know your thoughts. If you actually disagree and you think that police officers or military members or the National Guard, I'm going to give you a chance to seek your, state your piece. If you disagree and you think that only if you disagree and you think that police officers deserve to be disrespected, let me know. I dropped the link in the chat. Go ahead and do your thing. What up, Lovejoy?
Fox News alert, FBI investigating the shooting of 2 National Guard members as an act of terror, as the DHS confirms the suspect is an Afghan national who...
HBG. Hit the link. So give me your thoughts. I'm giving you an opportunity to say what you want to say. There you go. Anton be acting like he ain't from Detroit. I am from Detroit. And I know some of the dopest police officers here in Detroit. Matter of fact, I just went into the Apple store and a police officer prayed for me. I told you all about that yesterday. The link is right there. If you have a disagreement, you do not have to be on camera. If you think that the police officers are horrible, feel free to tell me in less than 2 minutes. Gather your thoughts and say it in 2 minutes or less.
Entered the U.S. on a visa under the Biden administration. Fox News contributor and former NYPD inspector Paul Morrow joins us now. Paul, you've done a yeoman's job of covering this tragic story breaking, and you yesterday were one of the first to tell me you felt this would be considered an act of terror. What do we know now, and why do you see it as this act of terror?
Well, first of all, the way the fact pattern played out, right? So he comes around the corner. There's a whole group of National Guardsmen. He starts firing into a group, right? That argues it's likely a suicide mission. You get a suicide mission, you start thinking that, okay, we likely have an ideological purpose here. So just under those facts, and you're starting to get into a political ideological purpose, you start to get into the terrorism realm. Then you have the fact that it's happening on federal territory. All of Washington is federal territory. That gives you federal jurisdiction. Now, pretty much all you need is the fact that he did it for an ideological purpose. And remember something, the people he shot are also federal employees. As federal agents of the federal government, it brings you under that rubric of a federal charge. So when this all washes out, assuming it's just him, he's either going to have a terrorism charge or an attempted murder charge with a terrorism enhancement. Either way, the T word's going to be there.
So if you disagree, you don't have to hate the... Listen. Stop making excuses because I see 0 people in the chat. Anytime that you give somebody an opportunity to state their thoughts, they always get scared. They always clam up. I already said that I'm not requiring for anybody to be on camera. People always clam up and they can never communicate their thoughts clearly. I'm giving you an opportunity to communicate your thoughts and to tell me why you dislike or disagree with my assessment of police officers deserving just as much praise and just as much acknowledgement as our military. I see nobody. I see 0 people. So I'm gonna just assume that you're just talking and you don't really believe what you're saying.
This 29-year-old was brought over under the Operation Allies Welcome, of which some 90,000 came under that in the wake of the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. What else have we learned about him? Fox talked to the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, saying that he may have been part of working with the CIA operation.
Yeah, this is a delicate and dicey thing because you have people in country at a time that American soldiers were there doing their job, and you had natives there, people that were native to that country, willing to assist and in fact fighting against the Taliban. Now, when I worked intelligence 15 years here in New York, right, I had Afghan guys who worked for me and who told me about what it was like over there, and they knew if they helped American soldiers, there was a target on their backs, and they really had to get out of town. Otherwise, their whole family would be killed. You're talking about the Taliban. They're not exactly known.
AD got amnesia regarding the hood. I don't even know what that means. Do you know me? Do you know what my experience was in the hood or something that I'm not aware of? No? All right. So what I see, let me tell you what I see. I see a bunch of degenerates. I see a bunch of cowards. I see a bunch of people that wanted to do the worst things for the community. I see people that were selling drugs. I see people that committed crimes. I seen people that celebrated degenerate behavior, and those were the ones that were the main ones against the police.